Welcome to Goalie Science, the podcast that bridges the gap between goaltending, science, and peak performance. I'm your host, Jamie Phillips, a former professional goalie, currently pursuing a doctorate in physical therapy and specializing in goalie performance coaching. Joining me as always is Dr. Ben Cernick, a seasoned goalie coach and sports analytics specialist. Whether you find yourself at home, on the road, or at the rink, grab a cup of your favorite beverage and let's drop the puck on this week's episode.
Jamie, you bullied me into buying a webcam. How do you feel?
I actually don't feel good because I was hoping that you were going to buy a phone and do it the way that I wanted us to do it, the professional way. And you didn't do that. You made it way more complicated. So essentially, listeners or viewers, depending on where you are, try to get more viewers just to be able to use the YouTube algorithm. I was hoping to have like multi-camera edits, kind of like a real official podcast, even though we are virtual most of the time, so it makes it difficult. But Ben decided a webcam that only does 1080p and not 4K was a good idea. Although he has a good background now, and it's better than mine. Although I now have internet that works, and I have this mini office. It's too bad we're recording this at night because there is a lot of good natural light, and I'm working on getting a cool like background and backdrop. So it's in the works. It takes time, slowly but surely. It was a busy weekend moving into an apartment. I told my dad came, and I know. And so my dad said he is willing to come on the podcast as long as there's no video.
Wow. Video freak from Robin.
So Christmas in Hamilton, maybe get Booge on too. Maybe do like a couple part series because for those listening, my dad was a teacher. He's retired now. Teacher, coached a long time, high level athletes as well in kayaking. And when it comes to being a goalie dad, he made a lot of mistakes, which is really, and he admits it. He made a ton of mistakes, but those are really good lessons that he has a ton of good knowledge to pass on to other parents. And he does, but he just doesn't, he doesn't go to the rinks anymore. Like I'm not there. So he actually came to watch me coach on Saturday. And that was, they said that was like the first time he's been in a rink in like years. And he loved it because you go from going to a rink every single day, and all of a sudden, you move away to billet and stuff, and you're no longer in a rink.
Yeah, wow, that pulls at the heartstrings.
It does. It really does. So it's good to see my dad. He helped us move. He has a truck, so that was big time. So like
biggest going,
we had to get like a massive dining room table that was like Facebook Marketplace. That was the only one we could afford, but it was like so big, no wonder they're getting rid of it. Like we don't have any friends. Like who's coming over to eat? And it just like we have the smallest winding staircase to so there was just a nightmare. But we did it. I survived. Coaching a lot, and like I talked about it in the pre-show. I realized how much I actually like work, and it actually kind of made me a little sick to my stomach. Because I never wanted to admit that it was a lot. And then I was talking to one of the parents of my goalies, and he's like, yeah, like actually everyone kind of talks about how much you work. I was like, yeah. And I was like, excuse me? So I was like, I don't really talk to this parent like that much. And I was like, oh. And then it kind of hit me, and I was like, oh no, that's like, I'm really stressed out. So I went and booked three more sessions.
Yeah. So what they said was the bag under your eyes, you look terrible, is what they said.
Yeah.
They looked you dead in the eyes and said, you look awful.
I'm drinking wine for those that are watching on YouTube. Very good. Shout out Bonobo Winery. They don't sponsor us, but they're Central Michigan alumni. And I am also almost a Central Michigan alumni. And they make very good wine.
Go Chippewas.
Buy your up chips, man. Yeah. So out of Traverse City, Michigan. So I'm a big Michigan guy now.
And that's talking local tourism with Jamie Phillips. All right, Jamie. What are we talking
about? Drill design. Drill design. So this was like one that popped into my head today, and usually Ben's the idea guy when it comes to topics, but I was cruising through Instagram, and I saw some drills, and I didn't like
going on that website.
No, and I actually don't really go on Instagram that much anymore because I just go on TikTok, and then I kind of like search something like home design, so completely unrelated to hockey, and then I just get mostly home design. But I was scrolling through Instagram, and I saw some drills, and I did not like them. And that's okay. It's okay. I'm sure a lot of people like look at my drills and they probably don't like them. But the thing that I didn't like was there didn't seem like there was a method to the madness. And when I come up with drills or when I come up and do anything, there has to be a purpose. It goes back to similar to what we talked about last week, where, if the goalie's struggling making saves to their glove and your solution is just shoot more pucks at their glove, it's not the right solution. Just like if your goalie's struggling to make backdoor saves, well, what are you going to do about it? Is just have a lot of backdoor saves where they know it's going backdoor. Well, no, you don't. You have to figure out, why are they struggling with this backdoor save? Is it their depth? Is it their positioning? Is it their ability to read the play? Are they too wide? Are they too there's just, the list goes on and on. And so I was watching these drills, and it was one of those ones, and it was like, they make a save low glove, and then immediately there's like a back blocker, like a backside blocker push. And I'm like, well, that hurts. I'm like, that's not how it happens. Like, that you would never do that. So you're actually just trading bad habits. And I'll finish off my usual rant here to start the podcast episode. Is I've been getting a lot of newer goalies to train, and it's nice, but they're all in this drill mindset where it's I set up my drills purposely, and I say these are 2 separate shots. Make your save, follow your rebound, reset, then we do the next shot. Because I want to work on multiple things, but I don't want them hyper focused on the next shot. And it's just like they're getting up before they're making their save, or they're not following their rebounds, or their eyes aren't tracking. And so it's just reiterating that, like, yeah, I get it's goalie skate. There's no clock, there's no scoreboard, and I know it's a drill, but you have to treat it seriously. In a game, there's only one puck. If I want there to be a second shot that comes quick, or a shot that leads into another shot, I will set up the drill that way because I want to do that. But just so trying to break these habits, because I've seen it creep into some of their games. And I watched one of my younger goalies today. I watched her play, and we've been working on breaking this out of her game, but she was just like getting up immediately. And I mean, we got to go back to the drawing board, keep working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an important thing to preface for both of us is that I think we're both guilty of sometimes using drills that aren't the best. And I think any goalie coach has had sessions where, you're doing your best in that moment, but we're not always perfect either. And you and I are definitely trying to acknowledge that. We're not always
definitely not perfect.
But yeah, there's a few things that I think are really important. So this is the goalie science podcast. So Jamie brought the rant and I brought the science. And I think we're going to pull from the field of skill acquisition. So this is a little bit of what I spend my time doing when I'm not coding. It's a step of research. But then we're going to be taking some notes from a couple of presentations from someone we're hoping to have in the podcast named Dr. Rob Gray, who's a skill acquisition expert at Arizona State University. But there's a few things that are really important when we talk about drill design and what goes into a drill. And so what makes a drill bad? What makes a drill good? What makes an exercise good or bad? And there's lots of different things, and it's not cut and dry, right? It's not good or bad, right? It's like all things, it's on a floating spectrum, right? But there's 4 things. If we look at something called an ecological approach. So we look at what's called representative learning design. So how do we build drills, or how do we build learning environments that most closely represent and allow for the better transfer of learning new skills as a goalie? There's 4 things. One is the information adequate. So if we're doing a drill, is their information, right? You have 6 pucks set up. That's not the right amount of information, right? That's an example of that's not the adequate information. Another example is do you start your drills in the same spot every single time? That's a big one that goalie coaches we're guilty of all the time. Right? The shooter starts in the same spot, the goalie starts in the same spot. There's no variable. That's that one. A couple other things you need to have in drills, something called action fidelity. What that basically means is that the movements you're doing as a goalie are what you would actually do in a game. So Jamie, in your earlier example, where it's a low glove save into a backward walk, those are movements you would do as a goalie, but those are not sequenced in a way that you would do in a game. So that's running that would like maybe not quite pass the action fidelity thing. We'll put an asterisk beside that because sometimes there is a time and place to do things that are a little wacky. But let's just make sure you're not using those as like you should be practicing like this thing.
Yeah.
And then the last one, because there's really two more, but the last one's on motions, and like you're not going to create a ring full of people yelling at you, so good luck with that. But the third one, the most important thing, this is the number one thing that I can stress, and it's the most important based on the literature, based on the experts in this field, and based on what I can see coaching as a player too, is that you need drill design that forces goalies to make decisions. And like, I think we're going to talk about that one a lot. I think one of the biggest problems, and I think maybe this will throw this one back again, the biggest problem I see in team practice, whether that's, just forwards, deep goalie, all involved, or just goalie practice, is this thing of a linearity, where it's like you're going to go here, then 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 here. Or you're going to pass to this person, you're going to pass to this person, you're going to pass to this person. And you are telling people the decision they're making instead of letting them feel the indecision themselves. And I want to talk about that more, but I'm going to throw that all over to you and see what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about this before. And I think when Derek Boujan Goaltending came on, he had talked about this as well and how he's implementing, reading options and decision-making earlier in the season. And I agree. I think I would say about 98% of the time, I don't tell it's a shot score. Yep. Or there's an option which like you can shoot or you can pass. Now, sometimes, sometimes do I whisper to the players like, hey, I want you to shoot block? Or, yeah, like I do, but I want to make sure the goalies don't hear that. Yep. And then I also tweak, like, I guess I never write drills down. Like I've actually started to make notes of some of my past drills so I can give it to other goalies. But when I want to work on something, I can think of it on the spot. I guess like it's kind of like, I think I'm pretty decent at that. Like I can't freestyle rap, that's for sure. Like I definitely freestyle create drills. And I hope and so like I'm able to create a drill that gets everything that I want it to get, and I can influence the players' positions and where is the net going to be open and around the strengths and weaknesses of my goalies so that the drill runs the way I want. As long as my shooters aren't on their own page, and sometimes you just deal with shooters and they're all on their own page. And then what I do is I step in and I take over the drill. But that is easily the biggest challenge, especially when it comes to like, we talk about this like tryouts and recruiting. Like when you watch tryouts, there are very good practice goalies, and then sometimes the practice goalies cannot put it together in games, and sometimes those gamer goalies cannot put it together in practice. And so I really need to see how well does this goalie make decisions. Today I just got off the ice for a 2-hour session before this, and we had some shots with backdoor options, and I always try to, and it's not bad. Well, I guess that's not bad. So what you're supposed to do, I try to let my boys fail before I teach them. I should. And so like, again, like when I create drills, I just say like, we're coming across, we're in this situation, you have a backdoor shot or option, follow the rebound, recover, step out, shot to score. And I want to see what they do. And if they do it right, we keep moving. If they do it wrong, okay, let's talk about it. And a lot of it was, I find a lot of them, like a lot of younger boys have trouble staying in control when they recovered their feet off a slide. And so I was forcing them to slide backdoor with no shot and then recover on the angle to a shot or pass option. So now we're getting like pretty advanced, and we're using this like about 14 to 15-year-old goalies. So a little bit in that mid-range. And a lot of them, even my best goalies, one of the ones that's probably top 3 in the country at his age group, too aggressive, way too aggressive. And then we got to go through it again. Like what's most important? Angle, square, depth. Okay. Do we need backwards momentum? Should we be set? And it's just going over it. But I want to see them fail before we correct it. But I definitely think that ability to process that is something that is learned. And it's them being able to identify different situations and what do they mean. And so I have to let them fail. And I have to let them get beat in the back door a bunch of times or beat on shots. And then I can slow it down and we can bring everyone in. Okay, let's talk about it. Does that make sense? What did I just say? Say it back to me, making sure that they're actually understanding. and I want to make sure I articulated it well ultimately, and I want to make sure that they're paying attention. But if they can say it back to me, then I know, okay, then we don't have to keep doing it. But if they don't know, that either I messed up or they weren't paying attention. So either way, we got to go through it again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think something it's always a delicate balance when you're trying to teach people new things. I would think the 80-20 rule for like success to failures. And that's not like a hard fast rule or anything, but yeah. And so I think it's always a tough balance when you're trying to teach goalies and drill design, and they're supposed to fail, right? So like 80-20 rule is something I kind of subscribe to, where 80% of the time they should hopefully succeed in the correct way. 20% of the time they should fail. They should do something wrong. They should have a hard time. They should try to figure out their solution. And that's not hard and fast, right? That can kind of bend either direction. Some days goalies are just lights out, right? And you're like, wow, you're doing everything really well. And one thing that I'd like to really get as a coach, like on those days, I'll go in and tell them all the things they're doing really well, right? It's not just like, I'm just like, not like, hey, good job. It's like, hey, you're doing an amazing job being patient on your feet. You're getting to a really great spot depth-wise. And that's excellent. And so I'm not sure if you're thinking about that. I'm not going to realize that, but this position was great. And I think that's important too. But the number one thing I think that is a challenge as a goalie coach, and I think that's a challenge for drill design for goalies, even when they're trying to come up with their own stuff, is like, does it have options? And like an option, for example, can be like just having a dynamic start, right? So like, okay, the shooter's going to start in the high slot this drill. Now the shooter's on the top of the circle. The shooter might change position while you're moving, and now you have to make sure you're head checking coming up to the spot. Like these are all really small, easy changes for goalies and goalie coaches who are doing drills to now just like, okay, now it's a more realistic drill. We've taken away some of that like linear part of it that they don't have, right? You don't know where the pass is going. You just know that a pass could happen, right? And like that's the kind of stuff that I like to try to encourage. Is like, even today, I was with some older goalies who can move the puck a little bit. No, just me, so I had no shooters. But there was two goalies. And so, like, today, one of our drills was just, I'm going to pass. I could pass or I can shoot. But the person I'm going to pass to in the corner is the other goalie who can play the puck well enough. Yeah. And right, so is this drill perfect? It's not. No, it's not a perfect drill. But just every time that goalie in the net have to come back to that post, they have to head check and find where I've moved to. They have to react to how fast their goalie partner is moving that pass, right? Instead of slow pass, can I take time to really find a good spot? Or is it going to be a really crisp hard spot? Like, it's set earlier and then adjust it. Right? You need those moving parts. And that's something that I've changed a lot and I've grown a lot as a coach with my drill design is, I think we all grew up on, okay, post out, now to the middle, now shot, follow rebound, back to the middle, shot in. There's still something there. That's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still doing a lot of good stuff. It's just really linear. And so, and you accomplish more is the thing, right? It's like, that's still it's still super good. There's nothing wrong. Goalie coaches who do those drills, that's fine. Don't stop doing them. I definitely still do stuff like that. Can you improve it? Can you make it more dynamic? Can you add some variability to it, which is really important for learning? And if you can, you should, right? I promise you, if you move 5 feet 5 feet one way each time, and the goalie says, like, be just where we come off the post, the crux of your drill hasn't changed. You've just added a really important learning variability for your goalie.
Yeah. And I'm definitely more of the mind. The more I coach and like the more I've been coaching, especially younger goalies, is less and less of that structure for me, or I combine it. So if I have a young goalie out or a goalie who technically isn't very sound and they need to fix that technical, like just I guess their technical basis. I don't know why that was such a challenge to get out, but anyways, if I'm trying to focus on that, then I create drills with a lot of skating leading up to things. And that's when I'll add in structure where it's post to post, out, butterfly, across to be set, make your save, follow your rebound, step back out. Now I can shoot or I can go back door. And the good news is
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and shout out Fox Forest Hockey Club because they leave for all the time, 24 hours a day. They have different passports available, different training apparatuses that you can use. So even if it's just myself and a goalie, I have multiple passports and it gives me multiple pass options. I've jerry-rigged a few things for screens that have actually worked really well, so I don't have to go and buy like a screen board. And So we have those available, so I can add in different things. And so it's when it's just me, I find different tools. And something that I do is I sometimes I worked with. So it would have been like last week, I was doing double flash screens. So, which is a lot of trust in the shooters, because I tell them, like, don't kill each other. But, one guy's going to be a high flash, one guy's going to be a low flash. You can shoot at any time. You can shoot before, after, and please don't shoot during, because you're going to hurt your other teammate. But I just want a little bit of visual distraction. Something that's a little bit like game-like, where things are going in front of your eyes. What are your eyes doing? Are they, how are those like inside? Like, how that's that saccadic eye movement? Are they able to track from one thing to the other? Are they able to balance from like vision, like puck to body, or they keep it on the puck? And there's all different ways that you can do it. You could try to make it more realistic than just set, love shooting, low glove, make their stick safe, follow it. Like, yeah, okay, maybe do that for 4 or 5, make sure the mechanics are good. Okay, I'm shooting either side low. Now they see, they know it's going low, so you're still working on making stick saves or whatever, but they don't know which side it's going to. So now there's less like, there's more challenge to it.
This is like maybe, so all the goalies I skate with who are listening to this, plug your ears. But what I like to do a 2-shot drill, and I've been doing a lot of single shot drills like we, Jimmy. Like, I don't know what's been going on. I think we're in season, so it's just, keeping it simple, focusing on the details that are the most pertinent to what we need to do. But if I'm doing a 2-shot sequence where I want them to do, I just really, and let's say, for example, I really want them to make it butterfly stick safe. Like, I want to see a stick safe puck in the corner, and that would be the best part of the drill. What I've started doing is I just say, first shot I'm shooting, and you have to follow the rebound. And then 90% of the time I just shoot low, right? But when I also, again, this is something that I really, really like, and it kind of goes back to one of the first things you said. So I'm going to give myself the old pat on the back here. But I like a 2-shot drill where I say that if there is no rebound on the first shot, the drill's over. So you only get the second shot of the sequence if a true rebound exists, and you have to follow it.
I did that today in it's 9 o'clock, and I did that in my 7 o'clock lesson, and I agree. And so actually, when you were saying like, what am I doing? A lot of what I do is I'll say, these are 2 separate shots. Yep. Make your first save, follow your rebound. If the rebound's tight, play it out. If it's far away, follow it, make the right decision on whether you stay down or get up. And then I also say, take your time getting reset on the next shot. Because too many goalies just, I think like a lot of it comes to like that idea that sometimes like I think we were guilty of it in the past. I think we've grown away from it, but it's like everything needs to be fast. Go. And it's just like, it honestly, like, I get so many goalies, it's just a sloppy mess. And it's bad. It's just so bad. It's bad. And I always say, like, look, you're a good skater and you're fast. Like, don't lose that. But you have to be able to know when to be fast, when to be in control. And, you're giving up a lot of goals because you're just trying to do too much, man. Like, just relax. Focus on each shot. Take your time between shots. Reset your brain, reset your body, and then go.
And I think right in the main that there's something that we can pull from. So like, I've also coached Olympic weightlifting, or weightlifting is the name of this sport that's in the Olympics. And one of the big things that is discussed there with speed and like being quick is speed is the efficient transition through transitions. And I really like that in goaltending too. Like, a quick goalie, or again, a goalie who's fast, is someone who efficiently gets from A to B. Not the fastest they can possibly get from A to B, but efficiently gets to A to B and gets to the right spot. They're getting square, they're getting on their angle, they're correct balance, you're not falling forwards or backwards, right? That's all much more valuable than just physically getting to the next spot as fast as possible. Right? And you said it earlier, I think it's a big thing. We see a lot with goalies who pop up too early, like a rebound's close and they're just on their feet all. And it's like, you don't.
This is so crazy.
Yeah, and we've said this before now and a bunch of times, but there's a couple of goalies in the NHL who were excellent at just making a save and sitting there watching. I still think, like, again, funny enough, former goalie partners, but both Jake Ottinger and Joseph Wall do that really well, where it's just a save, they just don't move until they see the puck, until they've made that decision on where it is, right? And I think that's a really valuable skill. That's actually something from an evaluation standpoint I've been looking a lot more at, is what is the processing after a save. It's not just like, where's the rebound going? It's okay, how are they finding the puck off themselves, off the body, what decision making is going on there. And like I said, I think that's why, but it comes back to drill design. We need to design drills, and goalie coaches going to do drills, and goalie coaches design drills. And heck, team coaches need to implement drills that are better around realistic force decision making around it, right?
Yeah.
Like I think stuff's too artificial, right? Like I love an in-tight battle drill where it's live rebound. All right. Like, hey, we're gonna, it's gonna be, you're gonna start at point A, we're gonna simulate a shot, and then we're gonna go push for the second puck. We're gonna simulate like a loose puck, you go and find it. But the minute you make that first save, that puck's locked. So it's in the corner, you're in the back of your post on your feet. If it's tight to the net, you're in your post and your post position, right? Like actually make proper decisions at a high speed level, right? That's when you start seeing mistakes come out.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And so like yeah. And if you're one of my goalies listening to this, or your goalie is going to skate with me at some point, like there is a method to the madness of everything I do. I said that before. Like when I think of a drill design, I'm very, very intentional. And there are a lot of times where, and if you follow, I guess it's time for a plug, we follow me on Patreon when I post a lot of my training sessions. I sometimes just scrap a drill halfway through, and they go, I don't like it. I don't like this one. This is a bad drill. And I'll go in and I'll just change it or tweak it slightly. But there's many times, I would say at least once a week, if I coach 10, 15 plus hours a week, I definitely at least once or twice a week, I just scrap a drill and I go, this drill sucks. This is a bad drill.
Yeah.
And let's fix this.
Yeah. And it can be multiple things, right? Like, we talked about the 80-20 success failure thing. In the science world, there's something called a challenge point framework. And what that basically says in skill acquisition is that if a drill is too easy, you don't really get anything from it. Now, for goalies, maybe it's just a confidence thing. Maybe the drill is intentionally easy, and we do that because we just want to make saves. A warm-up drill, it might be too easy, but the goal is not learning, right? But this framework also says there's drills that are just way too hard, right? They're failing too much. You're not doing it. And we want to find that zone right? Like as coaches, our job is to try and make a drill like you have to figure this out. There is a sense of learning. There is a sense of creativity in your problem solving. Because that's what a good goalie is. A good goalie is someone who can problem solve exceptional speeds and make the right decisions on the problem with the information, right? But yeah, I'm with you right there. There's definitely times where I've done drills where I've looked at this and I was like, oh, this is way too hard. And it might not be a drill that's too hard for the same goalie next week. But like today, that is too hard. And we're not going to get enough learning. We're going to get too much frustration. And I've been guilty of letting drills stick out for that.
Me too.
I think, yeah. And so I mentioned this briefly, but there's the fourth part of like representative design is emotions and pressure. And we can't really simulate emotions, but we can simulate lots. And so sometimes I'll do drills. I'm really picky with my goalie's footwork. That's probably the thing they'll pick us with, because a bad RVH seal leads to a bad goal and never playing here. So let's not miss the seal. But there's times where we're like, all right, this drill can just start with you going outside. You're going to seal into your post and do RVH and then go post. That's the drill. And then we're going to battle up either a net drive or a quick pass out. But if you miss your post seal on either of those first two posts, you have to restart.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's been days where it's like, we're getting like 4 reps in like an 8-minute bang. So I'm just like, nope, missed, nope.
Yeah.
Missed. And sometimes that's too much. Like hand up, that's on me. I've been guilty of that. But at the same time, there's a healthy balance, especially at older goalies and older higher skill levels, where it's like, if you're just letting stuff slide, you're part of the habit process, right?
Absolutely. I do that a lot. Sometimes I find even sometimes it gets to the point where goalies will want to be so perfect that when they miss it, that they stop the drill themselves. And then eventually there comes to a point where you say, look, you're going to miss it in games too. So you got to figure it the heck out. And so it's that finding that balance between being just really like perfectionist with it, but also understanding that you have to also be able to get out of it. So you missed your toe lock. Okay.
Figure it out.
What next? Like figure it the F out is usually what I say. especially when they're older, and I can swear at them. And then
This is a no strong language.
yes, this is a no strong language podcast. Yeah, it's just like having attention to the drill design, making sure that it works into something. And often what I'll do is, I usually ask my goalies, what do you want to work on? And then they always say, which drives me crazy. So do it. You always so or puck handling. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm like,
I have to go back and listen to the episode.
I don't want to do that.
Go back and listen to our episode on
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, probably not today. And then what I'll do is I'll do my drill and I'll see where the problems arise, and then I'll make the follow-up drill tailored towards that, or I'll tailor it towards something where I know I'm going to have a huge lesson. So I had a lesson with a guy actually this morning, and he was using VHs, and I was like, cool, like, okay, I was like, this is different, like, good for. And then immediately I was like, okay, why? And then it came back to like his goalie coach said he was small, so he should never use RVHs. I was like, well, that's not necessarily true. Like, let's understand the situation. Yeah, you're smaller, but what does that mean? That means we just have to be really, really intentional. We have to be really good with decision making, really good in save execution. And if they get tight, maybe that means your hands have to be a little bit more active than passive. And so, like, for me, and then it just turned into like a good 20-minute conversation about like, okay, like, how do we tweak this? How do we adjust it your way? I like the VH. If you're comfortable with it, great. But, your pad is slightly on the inside of the post, and that's no bueno. You're going to get knocked off. So if we're going to use the VH, we got to do it right. And so that's like, and then so like immediately I saw that like a one passive rep when he was just playing out a rebound on like a lateral release drill. And I was like, that's weird. So I made the next drill. Like a low post drive, and then it created this whole can of worms. But he got something out of it, and now we know what to work on. So that's usually how the flow of skate with me goes.
Yeah, and I think that leads me to my last sciencey thought process here, is that there's something, as a goal, this is for goalies, coaches, parents, everything. There's something to be said about what we call a conditions-based approach, right? So like, you have options on your post. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with using a VH. You can use it effectively in a lot of situations. There's times to use it. Not, I would say a lot of time, but there's times, right? But that's something to be said where like there shouldn't be a hard and fast rule unless it's a really good reason, right? Because ultimately the condition is we want the goalie to make short side saves on the post. That's the condition. It's not make RVH saves. It's make short side post saves, make short side post reads. And so that needs to be part of design. That needs to be part of teaching and coaching. Is it's not about you need to do it this way. It's in this situation. Again, what are your options? What plan you use, and what are you comfortable with? So I think that's worth saying. I'm not anti-VH. I love a good VH out the wild once in a little bit. I like to post on Instagram when I see one in the NHL. I'm like, hey, that's a VH.
Yeah, okay. The VH and the RVH serve essentially the same purpose. I'm way more RVH just because you have a lot more mobility out of the post from that position. You're
in the net. The VH, you are by definition a part out of the net. It just like,
it's like, I think I'm getting more to the line of like, okay, VH is good if there is a net drive and a D-man is cutting
side hand.
Yeah, the D-man's cutting off the ability to cut towards the middle, and you're transitioning kind of like from an overlap, but you don't want to get caught out. So like there are conditions to it. Exactly what you said. So like very rarely it's like, if it's going to be an RVH lesson, then I make sure that puck ends up in the golden triangle to start. So that they have to use the RVH, and then we explain what is the golden triangle. To say this is a rough rule. You don't have to follow it, but this is why I like it. This is why I created it, and here we go, and then make a decision from there. But if I was just doing like a low drive from behind the goal line, I don't expect them to. I don't expect them to go in the RVH. I expect you to make that read. If you want to go to the RVH, okay, be good at it. If you want to, do it under feet, okay, be good at it. Because if you're not, we're going to fix it.
Yeah. And I think that really brings it all together, Jamie, because one of the most important things I find is that if you want to be good at something, you should start by subscribing to Jamie Phillips on Patreon where you can get the most up-to-date goal-setting and educational content, all the behind-the-scenes extras that you don't get from Jamie's YouTube and the podcast. So if you're interested in learning more, being involved in some of Jamie's extra stuff, go check out Jamie Phillips on Patreon. As always, thank you so much, everyone, for listening this week. Thank you, everyone who gives a rating, wherever you're at. We always appreciate it. We keep saying it. I actually don't even know. I'm so social media brainwashed that it's like, it helps, probably.
I think it does. I think just sharing it. And the thing is, too, is like a lot of people, like one of the boys that's skating with Saturday, his mom listens to the podcast, and that's how they found out. And so that's awesome. Like, I just want people to listen and hopefully make good informed decisions, and like, you know, be able to have conversations. If you're not a goalie, like you're a goalie parent, but you didn't play, you don't know the details. Hopefully this stirs up conversations that you can have with your goalie coach that you're with and be like, hey, can you explain this to me, or explain why, or I heard of this, and then just creates it. But thanks for the free shout out with Patreon. Actually, there is a cool new thing I am doing. It's going to be called Coach's Eye training sessions. So I'll leave it at that. It's a lot of work for me to do it. So hopefully for those that are subscribed and those that are going to be subscribed, hopefully like it, provide some feedback so I can tweak and make it as best whether I can. But this is pretty cool. And I don't know if anyone's really doing it. And I know I'm not wearing a GoPro on my head, because that's how you would, that's like Ben would know. But Ben would know what optokinetic like training is. That's what you do when patients are like recovering from like vertigo or like triple PD. You'd bomb it. So it's not bad, but it's kind of cool, and I am a little jazzed about it, even though it does take a long time for me to do.
And that's why I would you follow you. All right, one last thing before I go. This was the Practice Design the Drill Design episode. I like to put this out there. If you are a coach of a team, not a goalie coach, or a goalie coach, and you are the head coach too. If you're a coach of the team and you're wondering, wow, I would like to get my goalies more involved in my team practice, please reach out. I'm happy to always have a conversation with people. I think the biggest fear people have is that they will design drills most drills are not designed for goalies. And then we automatically think that a drill designed for a goalie won't be designed for a team, but that's not true. There's lots and lots and lots of stuff we can do. It's part of the work that I do, and I'm always happy to talk to people about it, because Jamie is tired of listening to me about it. So just toss it out there. I know coaches, and again, if you're a coach who has a goalie coach come out and you're not entirely sure what stuff you can do with your team without a goalie, I'm also looking at that one too. So that's my plug on just trying to promote better practice design and better drill design. Jamie,
we didn't have good shot, bad goal today, because we didn't prep. That's on us. So what I'm going to do is if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put 2 clips of 2 of my goalies today. One of them where he tries to play the puck, hits the stanchions, and shoots out to the middle, and he does make a pretty good diving save. The other one is that delayed penalty, dives headfirst into the board over the bench. So
I saw that too.
Shout out Owen and Tano. They're gonna get a little bit of FaceTime at the end of the pod. So instead of good shot, bad goal, you get to watch 2 of my goalies be clowns.
And that's what we love about them all. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And Jamie, until next time.
What a save by Owen Lundeborg. Diving save as that puck took a funny bounce off and they pad save again.